Alright, time for another DraftPhysics.com, debatephysics.com video presentation. Comments. So I was watching some of the, the LA fires, and, how it's really bad. And, they have a chat opened, on the news channels, and it's 90% crap. I mean, just garbage people talking about their diarrhea or something or some of that. You're just like, what the fuck? Humans really are just absolute garbage. I mean, there's so many that just need to be put out of their silliness. So, speaking of which, experiencing kinetic energy in Minecraft is bad enough. Sad face. So I guess this is supposed to be a joke of some kind. I have no idea. Minecraft? I don't even understand how this was a thing. This is like the Teletubby of video games or something. I don't even get it. Sorry, I don't even get. I have no clue why anyone would select this game. I just can't find any reason at all that I would want to waste my time picking up bricks and putting bricks down. And why would I want to do that? It's like a video game of mowing the grass. What the fuck? Anyway, I just, planet Earth is just incomprehensible. It's become, it really is. It's worse than the Planet of the Apes. It really is. There's no way to relate to these little creatures. Alright, so this asshole writes some sort of crap and this patronizing nonsense. So I present a video with, like, at least 7 arguments, pointing out how, look, this is what the evidence shows, because there really isn't much, but what little there is, this is what it overtly shows. Okay, we all know what's going to happen with the tug of war. We all know, that the balance is a very good instrument for telling you what equals what. And they type this mush. Like, well, I don't have to respond to any of the arguments you made in the video. I'll just talk this irrelevant gibberish and provide no good reason or no good evidence to believe any of this horseshit. And do it in this obnoxious, patronizing, fucktard way. Again, it's too silly. All right, I understand where you made a mistake. I didn't make any mistake. I pointed out how you have zero evidence that it does not, in fact, take 25 times the fuel to move something 5 times as fast. It doesn't fucking happen. And that's what your formula says must happen. And it certainly doesn't produce 25 times the work. 5 times the velocity is not 25 times the work. It's 5 times the work. You can't show me a single experiment where it's even 6 times or 7 times, let alone 25 fucking times. And you obnoxious, patronizing cunt sits there and types this fucking goddamn bullshit when you have zero fucking evidence. I made the same mistake when I was younger, by the way. Fuck. Get what you deserve. Anyway. It is not explained at all in physics courses, even in Feynman's. Feynman can't do anything right, okay, frankly. He doesn't understand any of the real physics, okay? So go look at his analysis of the double slit. Absolute rubbish. He concedes mock gravity works perfectly, and then he complains, well, it just has this defect where, there's this drag problem. So he can't realize that, well, maybe they should look into that and see if drag really is a problem, because maybe electrons and protons are dragged to a halt. And the fact is, yeah, they are. Oh, fuck. The reason why it takes more energy, so there's no evidence it takes more energy. Zero evidence that if I have a drill in my hand and I want to spin it twice as fast, it'll take anything more than twice the energy. And the fact is, it'll take less. And if I want it to go 3 times as fast, it'll take less than 3 times the energy. If I want to go 4 times as fast, it'll take less than 4 times the energy. That's what the evidence shows. Oh, you're just such a lying scum. The reason why it takes more energy to accelerate for the same amount of added speed is... There is no reason, because it doesn't happen, fucktard. Okay. For an object to accelerate, it must exert a force on a support, whatever this is, a point of contact. So this is more baby talk. For example, so we know that this isn't true for thrust of a rocket engine. It doesn't need to push against the ground. The NASA scientists will concede the point. Rockets don't push against the ground. It's just not a thing. It's not something they have to do. It's just about expelling matter at a velocity, mass and velocity. That's what will decide how fast the rocket leaves the ground, for fuck's sake. These are the absolute facts. I point them out in the video, and this motherfucker sits there and pretends I didn't even make the video. If a bus uses its wheels to push against the ground, it will need to supply a certain amount of energy, say 1 kilojoule. Okay, so now we're talking about rotational energy of a contact, a mechanism that's pushing against another object for it to move. So it's going to basically it's using a piece of material, like something, like I catch a ball, and then I can throw the ball, right? Because I caught the ball. So I make contact with something else, and then I can expel the something else and cause an equal and opposite reaction. And it'll still just be momentum. It will not be any kinetic energy involved. Okay, to accelerate to a speed of 1 meter per second. However, once it reaches this speed, from the bus's perspective, the ground now appears to be moving beneath the wheels at 1 meter per second. So it's just a lie to say that the ground keeps moving, that you actually did expel the ground. You didn't really do that. It didn't really happen. You're a delusional Looney Tune. This means it'll need even more energy to keep accelerating because it has to overcome the relative motion between itself and the ground. So he's actually saying that when you're going 60 miles an hour on the road, you're spinning the earth 60 miles an hour. He actually believes that. It's just too ridiculous, right? Yeah, it's too fucking ridiculous. So I pointed out the experiment with the ball bearing bouncing on the anvil. Totally ignored. And so he actually does believe that I can put just 1 unit of energy in, I can get all my energy back, and I can just keep banging on something forever. Okay, so if you did it in space, for example, it would just keep bouncing forever, okay, without air resistance on hardened steel. It's going to bounce even longer than the 200 times it'll do it on Earth. And so you just keep putting twice the energy into the anvil. Bullshit. You have zero evidence. You're just such a piece of shit. Again, there's no point in communicating with people. You spend the whole video pointing out all the missing bits, and they can't even make the honest statement, well, they should probably do those tug-of-war experiments. And yeah, they probably should drop 4 pounds 1 foot and 1 pound 4 feet and see how much those things impact the ground. Yeah, they should probably do that experiment. No, they don't say anything like that. However, once it reaches the speed from the bus's perspective, the ground now appears to be moving beneath the wheels at 1 meter per second. This means we'll need even more energy to keep accelerating because the ground will be moving so goddamn fast. Amazing bullshit. Okay. It is similar to climbing a ladder with your hands at the speed. So I was going to talk about climbing a ladder. Is this going to be relevant? No possible way this is relevant. If the ladder itself is already moving downward, okay, so we're done, right? It's just too ridiculous. We know the ladder doesn't move downward. We know none of that happens. So just absolute baby rubbish. So the whole video ignored so he can type this absolute crap. Fuck you, you piece of dirt. Oh, damn. I mean, not one. You would think there'd be one of these assholes that have enough integrity to say, yes, these are reasonable points. Yes, they really should do these experiments. I mean, it's not that big. It's not that hard to have a drill, okay, and you just monitor how much voltage and amperage is going through, how much wattage, and you just spin it twice as fast and 3 times as fast, and see if it's going 3 times as fast. See if you're using 9 times the energy. Not a big deal at all. Tying a string between 2 carts of the, different kinetic energy masses, not a big deal. They're just such liars. Okay. So now the unit of acceleration is once again meters per second divided by seconds. Okay, so again, they think these units mean something, and that means that you multiply the units or divide the units or do some other thing with the units when it's a 1 unit. 1 times 1 is 1. Okay, so they can't get that part. That's the same as meters per second squared, just like 1 divided by 3. So this is the trick, right? So he just took something where he understands it's 1 second, then he puts 3 seconds. That's exactly the point.
Granger offers professional.
Yeah, one of the fire videos. You're gonna have commercials in your fire video. Anyway, all right, so I point out it's not a 1. It's not a 3 divided by a 3. Okay, it's not 9.8 meters if you make it 3 seconds. So if you make it 3 seconds, maybe you could play this game. So if you want to say that it's 2.7 something. Like a 3.1 meters per 3 seconds, you could do that, and then put that under 1 second, and then you'd have 1 times 3. Okay, if you're going to play that game, and so you're still stuck with the 3. You can't take away the fact that it's not divided by 2s or 1s or any other thing. It's always divided by a 1. So I just rewrote it with the real 1s. It's 1 second. It's not 3 seconds. It can't be 5 seconds. It can't be any number of seconds. It can only work if it's 1 second. It's not 9.8 meters. That number has to be changed if you change the 1, jackass. You know it. And you just type this shit because you're just a lying piece of scum. All right. So then he says, that's pretty clever of you. No, it's honest of me. It's the actual way the formula has to be written if it's going to be accurate. But the S is not 1. Yeah, it is. It's 1 second. The formula is completely dependent on it being 1 second. It's not a real, actual, accurate statement if it's not a 1, jackass. Okay, it's 1 second. Doesn't matter. Yes, it's 1 second. 1 second times 1 second is 1 second. Not 1 second squared. Not a squared second. Okay. You can't take the unit away. The unit tells us what we are dealing with. 1 second squared is okay. I'm just saying it's still just 1. All right. You wouldn't say 1 minute is 60. Why would I say 1 minute is 60? So again, you're just pretending, you're just making a false, fake, red herring argument. I wouldn't say 60 miles per hour either. I wouldn't multiply the 60 miles an hour times another hour or some unknown number of hours. I would never do that either. Okay, 60 seconds. With your logic, the M would also be 1. Of course it's 1. It's 9.8 times 1 meter, so it's 9.8 meters. Okay, times divided by 1 second. That's exactly how it's supposed to be understood. The units are always have a 1 in front of them. That's what they're signifying. It's this many of these units. 1 meter. Not 10 meters, not 40 meters, not any number of meters. It's 1 fucking meter. So the unit of acceleration would be 1 divided by 1 divided by 1 equals 1. Yes, exactly. Bravo. Amazing. He doesn't think that's the truth. That's exactly how the units work. They're all in 1 units. They wouldn't be of any value if they weren't in single units of 1. It's a 1 unit. It's like a 1 set. You can't understand anything about like a set theory. It's 1 fucking set of meters. Oh, you fucking idiot. All right. Then he does this crap. I don't know what this is. These silly numbers, blah, 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 point, whatever. No, you can't have x divided by second squared equals x seconds because 1 second, a quantity or unit which can be expressed in other units like whatever the m is. And if you express it in the other units, okay, and create a contrived non-standard unit, then it's not 9.8 again. But go ahead. I'm saying, okay, you want to play a math game, you can do that with all the other formulas that exist, and you can break all of them that way. So go ahead. Show some consistency. Show you're not a duplicitous hypocrite and break all the other formulas down and change the meters to something else and then change the seconds into some derivative of, zero point 0.7 minutes. Okay, so you can break the whole point of the 1 in the units. And then you'll break every single formula that has any squared unit in it. If I did it with radiuses, you know it's going to break it. So you're just playing a game. Or degrees. That'd be a better example. You can't use radians or degrees in the same formula. You either use radians or you use degrees, but you can't use both. Or either. Each formula is dependent on you using the right unit. Alright. Oh, you people are just such scum. I think some of these ideas are experimented on every day in ballistic gel gun shootings. How are they? So again, all we need is for somebody to do the reverse experiment, right? So you're saying they're calculating how much energy the bullet has in the gel. I'm saying they don't bother doing that. But go ahead, say they do. And what are they doing? You go see how far it penetrates? Well, again, that's going to be bullshit, because that's just about shape most of the time. I change the shape of the projectile, I'll change how far it goes. So that's certainly not going to work. I pointed out in the video exactly the experiment you have to do. You have to turn all the energy into heat. That's Joules' whole fucking point. I mean, Joule is famous for that one observation that he made the proposal and said to himself, hey, you know what? The only way to really test two things is to convert all of their energy into heat, because then we can measure the total amount of energy, because it won't be going here and it won't be going there and it won't be going somewhere else to some other kind of motion. We don't have to worry about sound and vibrations and this and that and all this other baby talk. We can just measure the heat. They haven't done that experiment, have they? No, they haven't. So I pointed out the exact experiment to do. Shoot the bullet into the water tank and then let the recoiling gun fly into the water tank and see how hot the water gets. Alright, gun shooting videos. It literally shows you where the momentum goes. So who knows what you're saying there? It shows you what? Yeah, no, it doesn't show you shit. Alright, I subscribed and hit the... You see, who cares? Are you that important that I need to know you subscribed? Okay, do I really care? No, I don't think I do. And the notification thing just tells me, what, you're an idiot? You need them to ring a bell? Oh, Jesus Christ. You're up at 1:30 a.m. Yeah, so are you, idiot? I mean, type the comment like within 20 minutes of me posting the video. So this is a big deal? It means something? No, it doesn't mean anything. It's quiet at night. I like working at night. Oh, fuck. Dude. So you've already failed. I'm not your dude. Dude. Jesus Christ. I love your bitterness towards stupid shit. Yes, thank you for showing me some more stupid shit to be bitter about. I have the same bitterness. Well, obviously not about the same things. About patronizing, obnoxious, rude motherfuckers who can't sit there and understand that calling somebody a dude is pejorative. It's pejorative. If I walked up to somebody and said, dude, you know, I'm really dismissing who they are. I'm just making them common. Alright, especially after my last deployment. Okay, whatever the fuck that means. My tolerance for stupid shit is so low. I get aggravated by stupid things and stupid people. So you're in the military and you're talking about other people being stupid? Alright, anyway. Sorry. I always found Veritasium to be super pretentious and a douche. Yes, so at least you got one thing right. It's just another one of those dad Family Guy science channels. Oh, it's that part is really disgusting. I mean, these guys, because they got some money, they get the trophy wives, they have some career hope, I guess. I don't get it exactly, but whatever. And try to use physics to explain every little thing. I literally watched one of those douchebags fall down by accident and then talk about the physics of them falling down. Stupid. Well, I don't know if that's the best example of the stupid, but just the corruption of it. I mean, when he started doing those Tesla smart car videos, that was pretty pathetic. When he was getting paid to do it, when they turned the physics show into a infomercial, that's really tacky. Okay, hey, Mr. Draft Science Man. So I just whatever. So just nobody, you could call me Gary, or you could say, hey, Draft Science, or hey, Draft Physics. That's okay. So, I mean, this titling me something shouldn't be that difficult. Mr. Pushaverse. That, whatever. Anyway, it's just, people. All right, I think the double slit experiment is the biggest misunderstanding in history. Well, I'm arguing that, that kinetic energy is actually bigger. Now, but it goes all the way. All the particle physics is completely dependent on this fake physics. So all of the particles they are assuming exist, they only have to assume they exist because they have huge energy inequalities in their math, because they've wrongly assigned an amount of energy to things based on this silly nonsense. So they think a proton has as much energy as the weight of the Empire State Building, because of the speed thing. It's just a ridiculous thing to think happens, that somehow the proton could knock the whole Empire State Building down. I mean, it's so ridiculous. But you have to argue all of quantum mechanics is based on the double slit experiment. So all of particle physics is based on 1/2 mv squared, which is just absolute nonsense. And then all of the bullshit about photons is where they created all the silly entanglements and qubits and all this absolute gibberish. So yeah, it's a hard. I'd say just the fact that kinetic energy is 350 years old and there's zero evidence. At least they have. All right, it is zero evidence, frankly. When you look at the double slit thing, they never even tried to reasonably explain the experiment, and they've never even tried to actually account for the actual patterns created. And that's the part that's just amazing. Watch Richard Feynman draw his squiggly line and say that's the double slit pattern is so fucking ridiculous. When it's such a nuanced and intricate pattern, it has so much detail in it. It's just an amazingly scientific thing, and he turned it into some, I'll just draw this squiggly, that's the double slit, the squiggly line. Not even close. Typical humans. If they can do something wrong, they will. If they can do it lazy and sloppy and get paid big money for being lazy and sloppy, they will. If they can be dishonest, like I said, the dishonesty is what is really bugging me now, because that's all I'm seeing. I can't find a single person who has any physics knowledge who isn't an absolute lying piece of scum. I mean, they're showing zero integrity. And these are scientists. These are people who've gone to college, even got masters or doctorates in their subject, and they're deceptive, dishonest, lying sacks of shit. And that's the part that's just fucking amazing to me. All right, all this is possession, but it's amazing to me that doctors vote against a sensible right to die. So it's amazing to me that, people go to medical school, they watch people die horribly, and because it's cling, ching, 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 because it's a big part of their economic future, they won't make this sensible statement and say it's absolutely embarrassing how we let people die horribly, and that we can't even offer a decent death to our pets. Yeah, it's disgusting. Okay. Being something wrong and momentum being something right. So it's just so obvious. Only one of the formulas can be correct. There's no other concept of energy. I mean, that's what Descartes was talking about when he talked about quantity of motion. He was talking about the energy in the universe. They didn't have the word energy. They called it quantity of motion. And you can't have two different formulas for the same fucking thing. The capacity to do work is what we're arguing about. You're saying kinetic energy does work. I'm saying there's zero evidence it's ever done any work in its entire existence ever. That ever. And the evidence is that momentum always does the work. Momentum's the only thing that will do the work. Again, the whole video is just layered with explanations. Well, this is a little bit different. This one he's talking about gravity. All right. The deeper you're going to study of physics, the more you will see how those two quantities are interconnected. So, no, I won't. I'll see how you have an idiotic notion that there's something called a scalar energy that has motion in no direction. That's right. It has magnitude, velocity, in no direction. Yeah, I'd say that's as dumb can get. All right. Energy is a quantity of motion through time, and momentum is a quantity of motion through space. Whatever the fuck that means. So it's just baby talk. Absolute nonsense. It really is. It's just absolute nonsense. There's this idea that somehow going through space gives you energy. The absolute fact is 4 pounds dropped 1 foot is not the same as 1 pound dropped 4 feet. It's only going twice as fast. It only got 2 units of force. It only has 2 units of energy. It can't possibly weigh as much as the 4 pounds. Not possible, you fucking moron. So again, you're just claiming something and it's not true. 4 times the distance in gravity does not give you 4 times the energy. It only gives you twice the energy. And 3 seconds of gravity only gives you 3 units of velocity and only 3 units of energy. And that's what absolutely every piece of evidence indicates, and you have zero evidence that 5 times the velocity is 25 times the capacity to do work. It's just an absolute fucking lie for which you have zero evidence. You pretentious shit. All right, this is hinted in Hamiltonian classical mechanics. So this is their derivatives of derivatives of derivatives. A Hamiltonian is nothing but a silly abstraction. It's another perversion of mc squared. That's all it is. Okay. If the Hamiltonian is invariant under change in time parameters, this means energy is conserved, and it is invariant under special translations that momentum is conserved. No, the absolute truth is the momentum will always be conserved, and it's always a positive vector. There's no such thing as negative momentum. There's no such thing as negative motion anywhere in the universe. Okay, a gun, the dynamite, whatever, the gunpowder explodes. There's not zero energy. No, there's a bunch of energy going this way and a bunch of energy going that way. Okay, it's not zero. Oh, God, you people are just so goddamn stupid. The gate is wide open if you look at the special theory of relativity, where the forward momentum is the vector p blah 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 blah, but where the first component is the blah 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 blah. Yeah, some more of this bullshit that there's more than 3 dimensions. Sorry, no sale. Another claim with no evidence. I'm holding on to the planet with my feet. I think we saw this already. If I let go, I'll be flying into the abyss. So whatever the fuck that kind of nonsense could mean. Ho ho! I'm a jokester, and I make jokes because I'm a jokester. Fucktards. All right, let's see. Newton referred to a bunch of people. So this is the argument about Newton and Leibniz, and the fact that, look, Leibniz, if you do a 1 mass into a 1 mass, you can conserve kinetic energy because you're not changing the mass. So you make up a fake number to going in, and you get a fake number going out, and you can't deny it. So that's what Leibniz did. Leibniz wasn't talking about transferring energy from a 5 mass to a 1 mass, or from a 1 mass into a 5 mass. That's not what he was talking about when he says kinetic energy is conserved. He was talking about the circumstance where you can make up your fake kinetic energy, your fake amount of energy, and then transfer it to exactly the same object and say the new object has the same amount of fake energy. But it's fake. It's just a statement. You say it has 250 joules of energy. You proved it with no experiment. Amazing. Again, the rocket proves the point. If you measure the rocket's kinetic energy, you get some silly number of joules. Will the rocket ship move with that silly number of joules? Absolutely not. Will it obey the third law and just exchange momentum? Absolutely. Oh, they're just such liars. So let's see. Sure, that's the Socolum in the end of Axioms for Laws of Motion in Principia. So they're still quoting the Newtonian stuff, and there's just no point. So he says Mr. Huygens, he says these experiments, blah blah blah, and none of those can you prove have anything to do with hitting uneven masses into each other, transferring energy from objects with unequal masses. None of them. Let's see. Give us a quote by Newton that is somehow against mv squared being conserved in elastic collisions. The quote would be from Newton after he was, not doing physics as his primary job, and other people made the arguments for him. Newton is you can go to optics, okay, and there is a quote from Newton where he says momentum isn't conserved. Okay, so clearly he says things, in my opinion, that you can say, okay, there was some experiment that gave him some indication, but then when you hear the rationale for that was that's why you need God, because God needs to clean up the inconsistencies. So momentum isn't conserved because God comes to the rescue and fixes it. Something like that. So it's all pretty pathetic. But okay, go ahead and argue it. I'm just saying Newton couldn't have written the third law if he believed kinetic energy was conserved, because it's not an equal and opposite reaction. Something as simple as a cannon, firing a cannonball, which is an example Newton used. So we know Newton knew what a cannon was. So there's absolutely, he talks about shooting a cannonball from the top of a mountain. So we already know he knows what a cannon is. And obviously a cannon does not create an equal and opposite reaction. The cannon has, 2 joules of energy. The cannonball has 2,000. That kind of differential, 1,000 to 1 differential in the kinetic energy. There's no way you write a third law if you believe that's real energy. More replies. Oh, dare we? Let's see. Okay, exactly agreeing among themselves. On the next page after that written, Newton tested this himself to see if their findings were true. From what I understood, in the next section of equal bodies wouldn't get equal reflection if both bodies are equal dropped positions. Instead, in that case, different dropping positions, body B tends to move further because body A heavier mass, wouldn't reflect the same. Anyway, the point is that we don't have the details of the experiments they did, right? Newton just references the fact that he did a ton of pendulum experiments, but he doesn't publish the details of the experiments. So he's just generally describing these scenarios, and he's using one, but his drawings were really difficult to publish. He's using one figure, and he's got 17 figures in the one figure, so it's all almost impossible to follow. All right, what's your interpretation? Newton agreed with Huygens that uneven masses in a pendulum system dropped at the same height is conservative, or lighter masses has more capacity to do work. How does this show Newton knew mv squared to be true? I'm sorry, I don't quite understand what you were trying to say. He's trying to say when the only experiment that matters here is a pendulum with uneven masses. And the conclusion we have to find out is Newton believed that you could make free momentum. And I'm arguing I know Newton didn't believe you could make free momentum because he would know that's perpetual motion. If I can put 100 in this way and I can get 150 out that way, who cares what reflects? Let's not even, who cares? Doesn't matter. I have just increased my momentum to 150. Then I can obviously increase the 150 to 300. And then I can increase the 300 to 600. I can obviously make perpetual motion and free energy. You can't make more motion in a direction, more quantity of motion, more momentum. Because momentum actually does work. And it's an absolute fact that momentum does work. They go on and on. Let's see. Another time when one of the bodies moves in the opposite direction after the collision, that's when conventional science and draft science are in conflict. Yeah, there's no such thing as negative motion. There's no such thing as negative energy. There's no such thing as unenergy. All motion is energy. The explosion proves it. Boom. Energy. It's going both ways. Both ways are positive energy in the universe. Both ways will do work. It's so fucking obvious. The difference between a scalar. Again, what is a scalar? So again, Newton didn't even have these silly concepts. What the fuck is a scalar energy? Could you draw me a scalar energy? Could you show me in some sense how scalar energy exists in something? So let's just tell you I have an 8-pound ball and it's going to go 16. And I have a 16-pound ball and it's going to go 8. Could you draw me a picture of the scalar energy the 8-pound ball has? You know, the twice as much energy that's in the scalar form. Could you show me what the scalar form of the energy looks like? I mean, I can show you the motion of the atoms in this direction, and I could show you even some angular momentum. Can you show me anything called scalar energy? No, of course you can't, because it's bullshit. Okay. Let's see. How is draft science vision of momentum any different? I don't believe you can have a collision, okay, of 100 and 150 momentums and only 100 pops out. I don't believe you can ever cancel energy. It always has to go somewhere. So I certainly don't believe that you can hit a 3 mass with a 1 mass, make 150 go up this way, 150 momentum this way, 50 momentum goes up this way. So you now have 100, you have 200. So you put 100 in, you now have 200 momentums coming to collide with each other, and only 100 will pop out. And then it'll just keep doing that over and over again. I think that's ridiculously stupid. Okay. Let's see. I would agree the idea of something can have motion with no direction is illogical. Then you should just concede the fucking argument, you jackass. If there were two objects colliding with each other at the same velocity and mass, you either get a reflection or the motion would cause deformity and heat. Yes, and if you lost anything to heat, the pendulum couldn't keep bouncing back and forth, could it? So I can have the 1 to 3 pendulum hitting each other and they'll keep going. And your argument is they lost 150 momentums disappear every time the 3 mass comes in and hits the 1 mass. I lose 150. Well, I lose 100. Every single time. 100's lost, and then 100 still pops out. And now there's 200. And they keep doing this over and over again. Losing 100 to heat. Every time. Duh, no, can't happen. Absolutely ridiculous garbage. All right, if there were two objects colliding with each other at the same velocity and mass, you either get a reflection or the motion will cause deformation heat. The idea of cancellation and subtraction of motion, thank you for saying this, in a system that still has motion is strange. No, it's unacceptably stupid. Oh, God damn it. It's impossibly nonsensical. It's free fucking energy. Free momentum is free energy. Okay. Motion has to go somewhere. Exactly. It doesn't cancel out. Exactly. So if you were using a 3-mass crushable object and a 1-mass crushable object, you know when they come together with 150 momentum and 50 that you're going to get 200 worth of crush. You're not going to get 100 worth of crush. All right. Motion has to go somewhere. It doesn't cancel out. Car crashes, for example. So you think you're going to argue with Bass and Bass by making a perfectly sensible debunk of the nonsense conventional physics absolutely says happens. So you just said what physics says doesn't make any sense, and you're going to continue arguing? Okay. Let's see. So he says, I would have to agree. The idea of, okay, and he says, no one said otherwise. Amazing. So this other asshole says, I would have to agree. The idea of something can have motion with no direction is illogical. And this motherfucker, okay, that's what a scalar is, okay? A scalar is directionless motion. It's somehow hidden inside of the thing. It's invisible motion. Professor Lewin actually says the words, okay? He hits something with force and it doesn't move, but it has twice the momentum anyway, even though it doesn't move. All right, no one said otherwise. Who do you think you are arguing against? A ridiculous statement. All right, and then, he's just going to keep commenting. I'm just gobsmacked. Who said something can have a motion with no direction? So amazing. It's just amazing. He doesn't know their whole scalar theory. That's a genuine question because I'm searching for comments over and over and I find someone who said this. Amazing. All right. Are DraftScience fans this desperate that they need to make up imaginary opponents just to argue? Amazing. I'm getting this gibberish. He can't see in the comments section that these morons are defending scalar mathematics. I'm not even joking. It's actually puzzling to me what is going on in your people's minds. Amazing crap. All right, so let's see what Force says. Macintosh did mention it, so I don't know what you are talking about. Yes, I don't know either. It's in the first post of the thread, for fuck's sake, you goddamn moron. Right? It was Kirksker or something. So anyway, it's fundamental to their bullshit fake energy theorem that obviously MV, there has to be something. If you're going to square the velocity, and obviously the velocity isn't squared when you look at the object. So you look at the object, it's going MV. It's not going MV squared, right? So if you're going to say the energy is MV squared, you have to say, well, it has a whole bunch of energy that's obviously not in its linear motion. You're saying the bullet, if I just look at the bullet and I take its mass and its velocity, it's not going to equal 2,000 joules. I have to square the velocity to make that. So it's not going to look like it's got all that energy, right? Statistically, its mass and velocity will not equal 2,000. So the only way I can make it this insane amount of energy is because I squared the velocity. And so now I have to come up with some excuse for how the velocity doesn't show the energy. It has a whole bunch of extra energy. You can't see it because it's not in the velocity, because you squared the velocity. You can't understand that? The actual velocity won't match the velocity number, the squared velocity number. When you square the velocity, like say if I square 4, I'm going to get 16. Well, the object isn't moving 16. So where's the rest of the motion? We know the vector of momentum is there. That's there, the vector of momentum. Where's the vector of kinetic energy? And the whole argument is it doesn't have a vector. It's completely made up shit crap. Oh, there's more. All right, so they're just one sentence. I was agreeing with Bass and Bass, wasn't arguing with anyone. Whatever this means. Again, they keep pretending there's no argument here. Like somehow you can have two completely different definitions of energy and that's okay. And energy comes down to weight. We all know that this is sort of the same thing as weight, right? Pressure applied to something is really going to be the energy you're going to apply to something. It really just has, the elephant has more weight because the elephant will apply more pressure. I mean, this isn't that difficult to figure out. All right. Let's see. However, you call it a vector because everything essentially has motion in a direction. And yes, that's true. Literally the exact opposite of what you claimed he said. Do you understand this? You accused him of saying the exact opposite of what he said. There's no way you can escape the simple argument. Then what's your excuse? You're saying the object has twice as much velocity, or I mean a quadratic amount of velocity. It doesn't. You're saying it has it. So where is it? All right. As pointed out, I was indeed saying that yes, things that literally have no direction and that are somehow literally canceled out of existence. That's absolutely ridiculous. So they keep saying it's ridiculous to cancel, and yet they believe you can do it. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. This is not what scalar means. What does scalar mean then? Okay, however, DS and others seem to believe that this is what the scalar means because scalar, this is just such nonsense, is regularly defined as scalars may represent the magnitude of physical quantities such as speed is to velocity. So again, he's saying it right here, such as speed is to velocity, as if speed is somehow different than velocity. If I was going to say how fast is something going in speed, I'd say 60 miles an hour. If I was to say how fast is it going in velocity, I'd say it's going 60 miles an hour. They can't possibly be called different things. The speed isn't absolutely going to be always an equal sign, and it's going to be exactly the same as the velocity number. You can't ever represent the speed as something other than the velocity. There's no way to rationally answer the question, how fast is it going in speed? So there's just such a lie. Scalars do not represent a direction. So here he's saying it again. What does that mean? It has energy in no direction. Isn't that what you're saying? Okay. When it is stated that they don't represent a direction, it doesn't literally mean that the object going at a certain speed doesn't go in any direction. No, we're talking about the energy that's not showing. The whole point is momentum is visible. You can see it. You can see the mass. You can measure it easily. You can see the velocity. You can measure it easily. What you can't see is that squared crap. It's nowhere visible in the fucking event. You're watching the event. There's no visible squared velocity. So where the fuck is it? So this is just such gibberish. I can't believe they're doing this. Pretending this isn't how they pervert science by using the scalar word. That somehow kinetic energy is scalar energy. What the fuck does scalar energy mean? All right. For example, kinetic energy being a scalar. Kinetic energy is a scalar because it's productive utility. So there is no predictive utility. There is no predictive utility. If you use it to land on the moon, you'll crash. Absolute fact. Okay. Does not depend on direction. Instead, it tells us how much energy is available. So again, available how? Where's your experiment showing its availability? Show me where it does any work. It can't move the ballistic pendulum. It can't move a lever. Show me where it actually does some work. Can't spin a drill for processes like performing work. So again, it doesn't do any of that. That's what I pointed out over and over again in these videos. And undergoing transformations. In these cases, the total amount of energy is all that matters. So this is more bullshit about some total of magical, unseen, invisible energy. Not the direction of motion of the individual particles contributing to it. So it doesn't matter what the little bits of matter are actually doing, which is just moving, masses moving a velocity. It matters what their special powers are. They're the Pokemon powers. For example, atoms vibrate due to heat, sound, deformation. Yes, they all go in a certain direction, but it's irrelevant. So, obviously, in none of these collision arguments is the vector of collision irrelevant. So, just more absolute nonsense. Landing on the moon, the vectors are really relevant. Oh, liars. Example, if a car crashes, knowing the car's kinetic energy, so this will be the lie. An absolute lie. Because never in car crashes does the kinetic energy conserve, ever. tells us how much deformation or heat might result, so it's a lie. The Mythbusters did the experiment, so I'll just recite what was in the video. Okay, 100 mile an hour, 50 mile an hour. 100 mile an hour was only twice the crush. Twice, not 4 times, twice. But the exact direction of the car's travel isn't necessary to predict those outcomes. So it doesn't work. The math doesn't work. It doesn't work for rockets. It doesn't work for car crashes. It doesn't work for tug of wars. It doesn't work for ballistic pendulums. It doesn't work on a lever. It fails every fucking test. And these liars just keep spouting this nonsense that they have some evidence somewhere that any of this crap is true, that it's ever made an accurate prediction. Momentum, on the other hand, is a vector because its direction is critical for understanding interactions. All interactions are going to be dictated by vectors, especially in collisions or systems of multiple moving objects. Exactly. Momentum allows us to predict things like the final velocities of the objects after the collision. And again, if I use kinetic energy, I won't be conserved in any of those experiments. So anytime I change the size of the objects interacting, kinetic energy fails to predict the outcome. Every fucking time. The motion of the system's center of mass, the transfer of motion between the objects. So he's talking as if they have some evidence that it works when the evidence is glaring, saying in any circumstance where it isn't the same mass against the same mass, in any circumstance where it's two different masses interacting, kinetic energy will never be conserved. For example, in a head-on collision, the direction of each car's momentum determines whether they stop, bounce back, or continue moving. Well, it also depends on how hard the car is. Without the direction, we couldn't resolve the motion of the objects after the collision. So again, more just absolute babble that those experiments are always momentum experiments. No crash car analyst ever uses kinetic energy because it's of no value whatsoever. It never predicts anything accurately. So just lie some more about the absolute facts. Momentum directly affects the geometry of the outcome, so just more baby talk. Kinetic energy, however, is more about the quantity of motion. So this is a bizarre statement. He's going to say now that quantity of motion is kinetic energy. I mean, it's really obvious that Descartes did not believe in mv squared, okay? And he used the term quantity of motion. All right, and its potential effects rather than the specific way that motion is distributed in space. So more nonsense. Blah, 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 blah. Space, space, space. Somehow the magical space is where the energy's hiding. This is one of the core misunderstandings. I didn't misunderstand anything, you stupid, lousy, rotten, lying douche who keeps insisting that momentum is the same as energy. Of course, it does work. It moves mass in the universe. That's doing work, jackass. And momentum does it reliably and with insane regularity. Okay, and therefore always positive, which means that direction doesn't matter. Exactly. Oh, God, these people are just so fucking dumb. In regards to kinetic energy, I think DraftScience has great arguments against kinetic energy. Oh, thank you. Okay, so even though you were on the wrong side in this argument, at least you're getting that part right. That, yes, they're good arguments, and the fact that physics hasn't done any experiments, I mean, the fact that they've never even dropped 4 pounds 1 foot and 1 pound 4 feet and tested how much energy that equals, you know, how much weight it produces. Just glaring evidence that this isn't about science, it's about religion. This is just a dogmatic fucking religion. They're going to just tell us what Jeebus did. The Jeebus energy. You mentioned car collisions have kinetic energy, but the Mythbusters showed no evidence of kinetic energy. Exactly. None. Zero. Not even close. Not even a glimmer of hope. And clearly the ballistic pendulum is another glaring example where you can barely conserve the momentum and you lose 99.94% of the kinetic energy is missing. And these assholes keep defending this fable. Out of all the arguments, kinetic energy is shown to be more flawed than I initially thought. Thank you. I think unfairly DraftScience is treated with disrespect. Thank you. Good. So there's a person just admitting they should do these damn experiments. Yes, let's see the tug of wars. Let's see the bullet shot into the water tank, and let's see the recoiling gun shot into the water tank, and let's see if there's any possibility that there's 1,000 times more heat created by the bullet. 1,000 times more heat. That's what their theory says. Their idiotic, moronic fucking theory says that the single bullet will create 1,000 times more temperature increase in the goddamn water than the 1,000 atoms moving 1,000th the speed. That's their fucking theory. 1,000 times more energy. I was just at by Mindless Marbles, and his channel seems to be dedicated to stopping DraftScience. Well, they're dedicated to lying and corrupting, and yes, when possible, they'll try to get me arrested because I'm debating their religion. Okay. This discussion requires a civil approach. Yeah, well, that ain't going to happen. It'd be nice, but it's not going to happen. And the fact is, you can't. How do you have a civil argument with people that are saying things that are just so obnoxiously untrue? I mean, it's hard to have a civil conversation with liars. And when they repeatedly lie, not just about me, but I mean, they're lying about what the physics actually has done, what the experiments show. I mean, for 10 years, I've been talking about how flawed the Eddington experiment was. 10 years, and not one of these fucking pieces of garbage will admit, well, shit, it's a really easy experiment to do from space. There's 400 times better resolution. You don't need an eclipse, and it only takes 5 minutes. Why don't we do it from space? Not one of them will concede. Of course we should have done it from space. All right. Do you think making up what others didn't say and insulting they are saying something different is civil approach? Well, again, no one's making up the fact that this argument is 350 years old and was never resolved with evidence. Absolute fact. De Chardolay denting clay experiments. Do you really think that's what should decide what physicists believe? You should fall for a gimmick? You're that dumb? 3-card Monty nuclear power plants? You should build nuclear power plants based on some kind of 3-card Monty theory? Shenanigans? I said he mentioned it. No wonder Draft gets mad. Feelings are irrelevant to the facts. Okay, so let's see what we get here. You said it would have to agree. The idea of something can have motion is illogical. Agreeing with Bass and Base, implying others have been saying this. Now you shift the goalposts and say he merely mentioned it. I mean, again, you really can't understand how there can't be two concepts of energy, that momentum means nothing if kinetic energy is true. And if momentum is energy, then kinetic energy can't mean anything. They're not compatible ideas. They're not compatible concepts. They're both describing the same thing, the meaning of motion in the universe. Oh, people are just so fucking goddamn retarded. All right, you mentioned car collisions. Let's see what it says. Provide a link, timestamp. Okay, so this is more of the bullshit, okay? It's in my videos, all right? It's been seen by tons and tons of people. This isn't a debatable thing. And no, it's not, the video keeps getting taken down. So we can't just show you the Mythbusters clip because every time it's up for 6 months, now it's somewhere else. So you go find it, motherfucker. Type in Mythbusters car crash. And you'll probably get there eventually. You'll find something talking about it. But just this whole implication that somebody lied. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so somebody found it. Pretending like it didn't happen. That they didn't actually do the experiment. That it didn't actually take place. It's just such bullshit. And I wish it was better evidence, frankly. I mean, I wish they had actually realized, oh, this is the wrong one. This isn't the 50 mile an hour, 100 mile an hour one, I don't think.
Safe distance, and the countdown begins.
Yeah, this doesn't have the pendulum in it.
I can't wait. I haven't seen a 100-mile-an-hour crash before.
No, this is the first video. So in this one, the guy in the white shirt made the argument that the 100-mile-an-hour crash is twice as bad as the 50-mile-an-hour crash. And then they made this stupid video where they said, no, the 50 and 50, the cars experience the same as if they hit a brick wall. So 50-50 for the cars, it's like hitting a brick wall. There's no difference. So they're just going 50 miles an hour and hitting a brick wall. But if I put a person, so one spring, if I put one crushable between the two cars, it would crush twice as much. So he is absolutely right, and they're going to prove him wrong when he's absolutely right, which is just so ironic. I don't know whether you can see that. I don't know if it switched. No, it didn't switch. So anyway, it's the wrong Mythbusters video. This is the one previous. So they made an update video to this video where they challenged the idea that two cars going 50 miles an hour is equal to a 100-mile-an-hour crash. When of course it is for the person in between the two cars. But two springs is the same as one spring and one spring. So if you have two crushables, you haven't changed anything. You have to have one crushable. One crushable, then it's a 100-mile-an-hour crash. It'll seem like. So it's so ironic that they can't, these idiots. So the guy in the white shirt actually conceded he was wrong. You can't see the white shirt. But I'm just saying, and he wasn't wrong. The non-Adam Sandwich, whatever the other guy is. I don't remember his name. Anyway, so it's the wrong video. So, unfortunately. But it doesn't matter. The fact that these experiments have never been done by scientists is just glaring. They've never compared, 10 miles an hour to 30 miles an hour and shown that 30 miles an hour does 9 times the damage. They've never even tried to say, well, to go 10 miles an hour, you use this much fuel. To go 30 miles an hour, you use 9 times the fuel. To go 40 miles an hour, you use 16 times the fuel. To go 50 miles an hour, you use 25 times the fuel. They haven't done any of these experiments because, yes, if they did them, it absolutely proves the theory is crap. Just like all the tug-of-war experiments they could do. The 8-pound ball going 16, the 16-pound ball going 8. Tie a string between them, it's going to be a tie. Absolute fact. I think every fucking one of you little weasels who are typing this ragged shit, I think every fucking one of you knows that's the truth. That there will be absolutely no difference in the capacity to push or move or compress matter created by the 8-pound ball. It will have no greater power to do anything than the 16-pound ball going 8. That they'll have absolutely the same capacity to push on something. More? Let's see. Okay, when it comes to proving kinetic energy is more difficult to measure than momentum. Oh, amazing. Just because it doesn't exist, because it's a silly religious fable. So yes, the Holy Ghost is really hard to prove because it's absolute made-up shit. Admittedly, there are very, very few recorded experiments. There's none that are credible. 0 scientific clinical experiments demonstrating this lie to be true. No experiment coming close to showing you taking 25 times the fuel to move something 5 times as fast, or showing something going 5 times as fast doing 25 times the work. 0 evidence. And yet you lying scum just continue to recite this babble that directly show the quadratic increase of kinetic energy. So he's admitting there's no fucking evidence. 350 years to produce something, and they can produce it with the simplest fucking experiments imaginable. Bowling balls rolling. It's a 10-mass car versus 5-mass car. I mean, any one of these experiments would be brilliant, and they haven't done any of them. All right. It's just funny just because the momentum experiments are so easy. So just do the momentum experiments and then explain why the kinetic energy didn't show up. Why it missed experiment day. All right. Measuring momentum involves mass and velocity. Oh, they both involve mass and velocity, retard. mv is in 1/2 mv squared, you stupid shit. Okay. Errors in velocity. Oh, so it's just amazing. Errors in velocity measured directly translate into proportional errors in momentum. Yeah, you're the ones who do that. You're the ones who do the little cart experiments, and you don't realize that, you know, when the wheels are moving twice as fast, it means the wheels have twice as much stored energy in them. And that won't be shown in linear motion. So you're the ones who don't understand that. You don't understand that springs can't move infinitely fast, and that the faster something leaves a spring, the more energy it left in the spring. You're the ones who can't understand that denting clay with round objects is stupid. You're idiots. Pretending you've thought about something in some sort of clinical, given it any scrutiny at all. You've given it no scrutiny. They told you the Holy Ghost will rub your ass, and you believe it. Kinetic energy depends on velocity squared, which amplifies the measurement errors in the velocity. So this is just baby talk. Why momentum experiments are easier. So it doesn't matter which one is easier. The point is there any explanation for why the kinetic energy doesn't show up for experiment day? So I'm doing the experiment. Why didn't kinetic energy show up? That's what you have to explain. So I do the tug of war between the, let's just say the, let's make it more extreme, right? A 5 mass versus a 1 mass. Okay, a 1 mass going 5 times the velocity, a 5 mass going 1 times. There's 25 times the difference in their energy. When I do the tug of war or I put them on the lever, there's not going to be any evidence of that, and you have to explain why it doesn't show up. All right, so there's no point in reading that much. Measuring kinetic energy requires more precision. So this is more baby talk. Kinetic energy is conserved only in ideal elastic equations. So it gets more baby talk. It's never going to be conserved, even if it's an ideal. So he's arguing somehow it's ideal. No, 5 mass going 10. I put 5 more mass on it. So now it's a 10 mass going 5. You've lost half the kinetic energy. Any detail you do on that experiment, you're not going to make it any better. You're never going to prove that you lost half the kinetic energy and it actually went and did something. It didn't heat the ground. It didn't move the atmosphere. It didn't do a goddamn thing. The fact is it never fucking existed. And the same's true for the ballistic pendulum. You're never going to show us where this missing energy is. All right, so this is all the lie, the heat, the sound, the deformation. All these things are measurable, so keep lying. Oh, you're so pathetic. These mechanisms, friction, sound, heat, okay, more bullshit about all these fake things that happen that they never measure and they never show. So absolute lies. All right, any kind of experiment, especially involving motion, requires precision, even momentum experiments. Unfortunately, there are a handful of experiments which lack the attention and precision that unfairly is thrown at DraftScience as evidence for kinetic. Yes, these silly experiments done by people who can't measure 4 times the height accurately. They can't figure out that the arc of a pendulum are different, and that if you're going to measure their energy, you can't measure it at the same physical location because one of them has lost almost all of its energy and the other one still has more than half of its energy. They can't figure out the simplest fucking details. There are some really good arguments made that I think people just don't want to admit. He may have a good point from gravity being about time. I mean, okay. I mean, it says 9.8 meters per second, and they don't understand it's a time-dependent force. It's just the truth. I mean, it's glaring. They're just ignoring time and saying, no, it's just about distance. Even though explaining why the center of the Earth is molten, which he really is the first person to point out, that's amazing as hell. Yes, it's amazing that no physicist could figure out after all this time talking about bent space-time that, wait a minute, there's a problem with the entropy of the system because gravity's making heat, and heat is real. It's not bent, and it's not a geodesic, and it's not spacey. Okay, it's real, and you have to account for its existence in the universe. I want to see these arguments be given a good look. I, for one, would like to see a tug of war between a 5-ton train going 10, yes, let's just say a 10-5 mass. But anyway, and a 10-ton train going 5. Well, look, that silly Gosling guy sort of did the experiment in the sense that he did end up banging two things that would be exactly equal to that. And he conceded that, oh yeah, there's every evidence that neither side wins. I think that would be a very interesting experiment. Okay. This moron says, this is hilarious. And I said, this is just cowardly, evasive waste of time. So it was one of the older comments. So I did go on and on a bit. So I guess I won't go chasing other threads. But that is an amazing thread, right? What is that? 173 comments or something? And arguing what? They're arguing that somehow there isn't a real problem having an idea of momentum, mv, and then having a formula that says 1/2 mv squared, and they both have the same definition, which is they're both saying, I'm the meaning of motion in the universe. They're both saying, I represent what motion does in the universe. That's what they're both saying they're doing. And they're saying there's no controversy. Two entirely different numbers, right? I mean, you can't get more obvious than the gun, right? Where you're saying the gun recoil is 2 joules, the bullet is 2,000. You can't get more dramatic a difference. Obviously, as I pointed out, violating Newton's third law entirely. Throw it in the garbage. And they're saying that the default is everybody believes that kinetic energy is real and momentum is just an interesting, funny concept. Ridiculous. All right. So, I just can't express my disappointment. Like I said, I've always felt kind of insecure in my life and, struggled to find my place here and all that kind of crap. And I actually did have this notion that there were smart people in the world and, they had integrity. And if you asked them, they would answer honestly. That it wasn't all just bullshit. And here I'm just finding it's all bullshit. You can't even rely on intelligent people. They're got just as many scummy shit lying wheels turning in their fucking head as the goddamn ignorant morons. That somehow intelligence doesn't build character. And I thought there could be no other way it works. How could you possibly gain intelligence and knowledge without it shaping your character? I just find it amazing that that's the truth. Amazing. And insanely disappointing, frankly. That this is how the depth of the scum on this planet, is 100 times, 1,000 times more than it's squared. And I didn't know scum was squared. Damn it. So there's really no hope, because there's no rational, honest people on Earth. So you can't fix anything ever, because there really are no honest, rational people who love facts. No, there aren't any.